Hey friends, welcome to my longer vault cleaning video that's going to elaborate on what to keep and what to delete. I already made a 2-minute short form video that summarizes what I'm about to talk about. I literally just took some melatonin and I'm trying to get to sleep at a reasonable hour. Hopefully, talking about cleaning the vault does me in. Let's hope. But anyway, I'm pretty much just going to read off of my notes how to clean the vault for PvP. You're also going to be cleaning it for PvE since you have to care about PvE if you're an efficient PvP player. But let's talk about the commenter who says you don't need more vault space. We don't play the same game. This video is not for you, and I'm jealous of everyone that finds the game endlessly magical while holding mouse 1 machine gun for every activity. What reason do you have to click on a vault cleaning video when you apparently know better than those who want to push the game? It's not even a conversation. And if I had to add on to it, play both platforms, both input devices, on all 3 characters in all 3 modes. The vault space adds up and adds up and adds up, and then if you're a content creator on top of that, covering niche combinations and whatnot in the future, it's an impossible task. It's Sisyphus with the boulder. So my advice for future saving space is to take notes in dim. And we'll just see some examples here. I think some good ones are the PvE related ones where I take very detailed damage notes so that I know what role to keep and what to upgrade. For example, on my Exalted Truth from Trials, it tells me exactly what perks to look for on future roles so I can very quickly clean my vault in the future. And I have notes that tell me all sorts of interesting information. For example, I have notes of everything with a highlight scope that sees through smoke grenades. So just be meticulous about that. It ends up saving so much time in the future. Then the next thing is we're going to separate dim into group vault weapons by type. And this is going to look much prettier for deleting stuff. These are our copy-paste dim commands. Once you create loadouts with everything in the game, everything that you find competitive and fun, you can very quickly search them with this right here. But I don't have a lot of weapons in my loadouts besides my competitive loadouts, so we're mainly focused on using these dim commands for cleaning out armor, and that's going to be much later in this video. In this video, I'm not going to tell you to delete sniper rifles because those are personal preference. Everybody has a different zoom they value, handling, perk, etc. And then sometimes the meta shifts to where you can't like headshot a super, and then suddenly you have to use a non-snapshot aggressive sniper with Vorpal weapon to kill a spec blade or a Song of Flame. So I'm not going to tell you to delete sniper rifles because all it takes is one patch to put your favorite sniper rifle back on the menu, so don't delete it. Fun guns, you know what those are. Trophies, I'll show you a couple examples. But if you're at 700 out of 700 and your vault's about to blow up, just take a screenshot and delete it. So here we go. The fake Redrix, the real Redrix. So if my vault was at 700 out of 700, we would have a funeral for my Claymore, take a screenshot, and delete it along with the Glory and Grandeur ornament. If you know, you know. Dog rolls or practice guns. Let's start with practice gun. I think it's the Warden's Law. I clicked on it the first one. With Zen Moment Snapshot, high stability. This thing is terrible mouse and keyboard, but at least it's usable and it keeps my aim true. So anytime I'm feeling weak on the aim game, I switch to Warden's Law and it cleans it up in a match or two. Then what is a dog roll? Well, let's look for Energy Weapon Exalted Truth, because, oh, here we go. Slick Draw, Gut Shot. And we have Stormtrooper armor in the game, so I need to get together with my friends and other content creators, switch our controls to inverted, and go crazy. It's going to be so much fun. And then Unobtainables. I have one right here. Kindled Orchid, can't get it anymore. Why you would want to keep it? Because you can't get the combination of Kill Clip Rampage, except you can on a new weapon, so that's a pretty bad example. I think the best example would be my submachine gun that is an illegal roll from an old dim glitch. The Antiope D with double kill clip, and yes, it works. And no, I don't use it in the game. I'm not an asshole. I'm not evil, I promise. If there was like a cheater in the match or something, like maybe I'd consider pulling it out, or if somebody else was using an illegal gun, I might pull it out. But for now, it just sits and gathers dust. But there's a lot of unobtainable weapons in this game. You know what you value. Some are trophies, and some are still best in slots. Okay, space-saving tips for the future. In Edge of Fate, whatever. Get to the pinnacle cap or whatever progression system Bungie has set up in the future as soon as possible. Then you're going to use your postmaster and vendors that store like powerful engrams and whatnot as future infusion fuel. And you'll need this if you want to queue into something like Trials of Osiris, where it's power level enabled, and you want to run an alternate build. So instead of using vault space on infusion fuel, you can just go around the universe and collect all your infusion fuel. Alright, here's a big one. Listen up. Grab yourself a warm mug of tea or coffee or whatever, and it's going to be a long one here. But listen, not all PvE guns need 5 out of 5 rolls. You can get by with a 2 out of 5, and I'm not even playing. Stop chasing that 1% damage increase from stuff like impact casing when your rotation execution is only like 75% mechanically optimal when we're talking about damage. You can watch yourself fight the witness right now, and we can just nitpick so many mistakes that add up to way more damage than impact casing will ever get you and the time it takes to farm for impact casing. It's not worth it. Consider reobtaining easy PvE guns or just delete craftables when they're not needed in rotation. I'm going to give you an example here. So there was a shoot to loot explosive scout rifle, and then the Vulpecula hand cannon exists with the same role. But Fang of Earute is craftable with shoot to loot. Yes, it's missing explosive, but the point is, let's remind you what Vulpecula is. So I even have it in the notes, guide PvE gun for speedruns. So the scout version was used in a season where we maybe had a champion mod on the scout rifle, and the meta at the time was using Cenotaph with Gallahorn to create infinite heavy ammo. You would have 3 people on it, and you would use the explosive shoot-to-loot gun to just reload Gallahorn off bricks off the floor. And it meant you could clear the Nightfall in like 6 or 7 minutes. So at the time, that was meta. But now the meta has shifted. Prismatic Consecration is basically like having a Gallahorn in your fist. So you don't necessarily even need a shoot-to-loot explosive scout. And if the need does arrive, I'm a good enough player to where I can just slightly aim better at the brick. The exception to this rule is if you're a top 100 contest raider or a speedrunner gunning for the fastest time, maybe you do want the scout with shoot-to-loot explosive. But me personally, watch how I search on D2 Foundry here, me personally, I think I will let crafted weapons act as vault space for me. So command craftable true, weapon, scout rifle, slot kinetic, and then trait, shoot to loot. As you can see, only 2 weapons have it, Dead Man's Tail and Fang of Earute. And so I would just, when the need arises, craft shoot to loot, craft golden tricorn or high ground or something like that. And there you go. Cenotaph is back online, and my Nightfall will only be like 2 seconds slower. At best. So that's my advice. Also, if I was going to do the Cenotaph thing, shoot to loot traces exist now. Oh, of course, whatever. Shoot to loot trace. There you go. Let's look at this infographic from Court that shows all the champion mods of next season for the artifact. Looks beautiful. Throw a couple dollars his way. He works too hard for this. Some food for thought on what to keep. Finally, we have Adept raid weapons, and these can have 3 perks in each column. Just copy paste this so I can show you. These can effectively save vault space. Like for example, I have 4 times the charm with precision instrument, elemental honing, and bait and switch on the same sniper rifle, thus saving me about 2 vault spaces. PvP roll with 3 potential ones I would use. Don't look at that reload masterwork. Glaive with exactly what I want. I didn't even have to get the patterns. By the way, if you want the triple perks, you need to complete all the patterns of the respective raid. Word of Crota. And then finally, I think Hazen's Vengeance is the best bang for your buck in terms of a vault saver. I also want to shout out Corrective Measure with Withering Gaze. This thing has been amazing in PvE. since on some classes you can't supply your own weaken, this is just like a free 15% damage bonus if you're using something like Lord of Wolves to melt down the boss. Also, look, a note. Bakris adds a Force Surge. So, keep taking notes. Let's talk about what to keep in PvE, starting with shoot to loot explosive payload weapons. Again, I just gave you an example of how I deleted something I would have normally kept, but I really thought about it and said, I don't need it, like SpongeBob with the water. Kinetic tremor weapons, too, are great. Shoot to loot trace rifle. Chill clip for each weapon type where it exists. Jolting feedback for all the weapons it exists on. Sniper, pellet, slug, fusion, and tubes with a meta damage combo for each slide. Keep unreplaceable versions of these for future surge matching content if that's ever a thing. And the same for probably grenade launchers, swords, and rockets. However, if you're like really dying for vault space, I don't think you actually need each element, but it does lead to comfier clears when elemental surges are on. Even when you consider something like Hazen's Vengeance blowing every other rocket launcher out of the water, the elemental bonus still matters with some rotations, but you have to be a very experienced PvE player to figure it out on the spot. So if you want to just err on the side of caution, just get a single Hazen's Vengeance rocket with like, let me just look at what I have here. Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch, and then maybe another with Overflow Elemental Honing. That would be good to go. Hazen's Vengeance is so good though that I actually think it might get nerfed in the future, so maybe also get a Cold Comfort with Envious and Bait and Switch. Next thing to keep, machine guns with ammo damage perk for each element. AoE tube and kinetic and energy slot to build Transcendence faster. A blinding tube in each slot. Mountaintop for transitions, eager edge for transitions, healing frame auto in both slots. It does come up in contest. Rocket sidearm in every element, because rocket sidearms are the easiest and they're very effective. Withering gaze weapons, I'm just going to say in general. Love that perk. Attrition orb setups with AoE tube, and then the multi-mock kinetic tremors attrition orb one. It's really good. For Ergosum, get an arc conductor one and a wolfpack one. PvE armor. Well, the armor system's changing in the future, but my general advice is that you're eventually going to have so many resources that you can't possibly spin them all. You're going to cap them all out. So if you have like a exotic armor, pointing at myself here, I was trying to get a perfect Eye of Another World build and just punching it into Destiny Item Manager or D2 Armor Picker every day until I got the build I wanted, and I finally did, so I can delete all these. But if you have a lot of exotics that are close to perfect, but not exactly perfect, since you're capped on materials, I would say just delete them. You could just reobtain it another day, and it's not really going to hurt your material gain because you essentially have infinity. Quick section about Gambit, but don't click off the video. Let's just type Gambit into my search bar, and you're going to see a lot of stuff that pops up. Maybe I need the specific nodes. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Forerunner Izanagi. Start the game with Forerunner, switch to Izanagi, get more Izanagi ammo, pre-spawn everything with your AoE frame, and then Consecration tighten everything, and switch to Cuirass to kill the boss. If Eager Edge is banned for some reason, because there's a bug with it or something, I like using a Reservoir Burst linear fusion because it body shots people in Gambit. And if you're really, really serious about winning Gambit games efficiently, you would use a very high intellect setup and also exotic armor swap a lot. We love menu gameplay. It's just so exciting, exhilarating. Okay, moving on. What weapons do you keep in PvP? Well, we're going to talk about the current meta weapons, but let's move on to potential meta. A perfect 5 out of 5 roll. The example I'm going to give you is Braytech Werewolf. Auto rifles aren't meta now, but if auto rifles are meta, this is most certainly going to be at the top of it. It has like 5 perks baked into it. First of all, its aim assist is like 10 higher than everything else. Then it has the Lone Wolf perk, whereas other auto rifles don't, which is AE and aim assist. Then it has an origin trait that is essentially snapshot. Then it has kill clip, and then it also has a highlight scope. It's wild. So anything that could be potential meta, keep it. Vorpal swaps. This one's simple. Rose normally has slide shot, opening shot when you see it in the wild. When there's about to be a super, swap to your slide shot, Vorpal one. Anti-Titan guns. Oh, I'm gonna have fun with this one. I labeled it and Dim as fuck Titans. So whenever Titans group up, they usually play a triple behemoth and they throw an ice fortress all over the place. If you play a stasis class and use the rending fragment, and you have a time payload 180 RPM hand cannon, you can one tap their fortress and just blow them up and turn their shield into your grenade and get the kill. So anything that is involved with breaking crystals really, really fast. Also, look at the notes here. I even note the recoil direction. Anything involved with destroying barricades or crystals, I mark as fuck Titans because I really dislike playing against that turtle gameplay. Okay, Discord special weapons for checkmate. We're going to type Discord into the search bar, and I'm going to go to this shotgun right here, last man standing, because it doesn't seem like a role you would normally keep. However, I used this with the Ophidian aspect, and it slapped. I practically played a match without using its special ammo. It just got all the kills off of Discord. Lightweight weapons for Hunter and high mobility builds. That's not going to matter in the future because the mobility is being relegated to the leg armor slots, armor mods. However, lightweight still counts towards that and it's still a sprint bonus. Skulking Wolf weapons. I could talk about this for 5 minutes, but we're going to do the short version. When you're playing really good opponents and you win the gunfight, chances are they landed a lot of damage on you, you're probably red barred, which means you're activating Skulking Wolf, which means you're off the radar for 10 seconds, and you can chain that into invis, where you mask the first 2 seconds of your invis with the Skulking Wolf ending, so you can just sprint towards the enemy and gun them down. It's amazing. Weapon stat TTK shifts. So in Edge of Fate, the mobility stat is changing to the weapon stat, which can yield 6% damage at 200 stat. And this can shift some weapons, like the adaptive pulse rifle or adaptive burst sidearm, like the Peace Bond. Might be saying I have a lot of Peace Bonds here. I have 3 Unobtainable. Rangefinder is my favorite perk, so I want all the kill perks with Rangefinder. Then I value Zen Moment and Lone Wolf, and I think the best perk on the right column is Desperate Measures, so I have a couple of those. So it amounts to 8. I easily could have had 15 of these. I trimmed it down to 8. So another one, I think Jorum's Claw is probably my favorite for 2 Burst Pulse. I'm trying to get used to the way they line this up. Gotta scroll down. I'm sorry. Here it is. Jorum's Claw. I just had to show you. Next time Iron Banner rolls around for Edge of Fate, you need to grab one of these because it's just going to be 2 bursting everything in the next expansion. Same thing for Bakris with Arc and Stasis weapons. If you play a Prismatic class like Prismatic Titan, the knockout melee can activate Radiant with a fragment on Prism. So if you get a kill with a Swashbuckler or a Desperate Measures weapon and combo that Radiant with it, you can get a time to kill shift, which changes a 140 RPM hand cannon like the Better Devils into a 2-tap. Next thing to pay attention to, Radiant Dodge and Foe Tracer could also be the Prismatic exotic class item. Hipfire weapons for RDM. This is Redrix's S-Stock, BXR Battler, the Prophet, anything that can get a Hipfire perk. If auto rifles are visible, I know I have a 7th Seraph right here, so I keep that just around for RDMs. I think Heal Clip is really good in 6s, especially with non-Warlock Devour. Cascade Point is a pretty rare perk, so just keep an eye on it. Use your better judgment. Trust your gut. Don't trust the YouTuber on what to keep and delete. Trust your gut. Or you can speak to my lawyer. High AE. These are weapons with Lone Wolf, or in the case of some sniper rifles, not even sure if I'm selecting the right one here. In the case of sniper rifles, you can sometimes get one with 100 range and 100 AE. Here we go, I found them. So 100 range, 100 AE. I'm trying to look for my other sniper rifle. There it is, Macabre. So this is my example. With opening shot, it pushes the range to 100, and because it's Macabre for whatever reason, it has 5 base AE. Then you add extended mag and Icarus grip and heat rises, and you're suddenly at 100 range, 100 AE. It's fantastic. Lone Wolf exists now, so this has been power crept. And you can get that combo a lot easier. So definitely keep those. If you're missing in the air with 100 AE, 100 range, it is a skill issue. Anti-flinch, on the other hand, not so much of a skill issue. So I very much value weapons with good anti-flinch, whether that's Austringer with 99 stability and Zen Moment, whether it's a Suro Synergy gun, a perfect float gun, all the above. Love them. Finally, if the gun model looks good, just keep it. A good example was the Long Walk Sniper, which has a highlight scope and is 50 zoom. Pardon the reload masterwork. It's unobtainable though, so I can't improve upon it if I ever want to spice up a video. Let's talk meta weapons right now. Camille's Dagger is probably the #1 weapon in the game. Slide Precision Instrument, you can 3-tab overshields from the +40 Titan Barricade. Maybe kill a Revivey in 3 shots or someone spawning up. And then Adagio lets you 2-tap the rest of the enemy team. For Igneous Hammer, keep away Precision Instrument for the same reasons as Camille. But Golden Tricorn in the next expansion is going to be pretty good, because there's an artifact perk where if you land rapid headshots, in this case 3 headshots with Igneous, you're going to get Radiant. And if on that 3rd shot you get the kill, you get Golden Tricorn and Radiant, which means the next target gets 2-tapped. For Rose, Slide Opening, Slide Vorpal. Next, Scouts with Box Breathing. Rapid Fire Frame with Precision Instrument, and if it's an aggressive frame like Prophet, you want Kill Clip. For Pulses, Slice Ayesha, Wither Joxers, BXR, LC Relentless Messenger, Slice Belisarius, Vorpal Belisarius, because there's not that many Vorpal options long range in the kinetic slot. Jorm's Claw with the damage perk, already talked about that, and Cold Denial because it's 14 zoom. For submachine guns, keep a precision frame with target lock, and then maybe a lightweight with slice and or kill clip, and also multi-mock because of Skulking Wolf. For bows, you want 576 draw, which means a draw time masterwork and an elastic string. As for perks, I like Hipfire, and then since you have Hipfire anyway, you might as well go Archer's Gambit. For glaives, Chill Clip Glaive, Judgment of Kelgaroth, Impulse Amplifier. Slug shotguns. I'm not even describing these, you already know what's good. Pellet shotguns. You already know what's good, but I'm going to mention that Prophet of Doom has an origin trait similar to the Kindled Orchid hand cannon that does extra damage to overshields, and it might work in PvP and Edge of Fate, or they might update it to not work. We don't know yet. You can pretty much delete your fusion rifles. You don't need them at all. Talk to my lawyer. Sniper rifles. I would recommend a Vorpal aggressive frame to swap to kill supers. For grenade launcher tubes, I use autoloading on almost all of mine if it exists. If it's a wave frame, disruption break. Just in general, disruption break. And then if the same grenade launcher also has disorient or spike, that could save you a vault space, because I do actually like spike grenades on these tubes. Next up, ammo efficient machine gun, basically just hammerhead 4 times the charm, killing tally. For heavy grenade launcher, impulse amplifier, and then proxy and full court, because you can get more consistent one taps, even more so when you consider the weapon stat in Edge of Fate. The concussion grenade on a heavy grenade launcher is quite good. Y'all might have never been hit by this before, but you can gamble for that at Zavala. He still drops it to this day. Discord linear fusion rifle. I played matches of PvP where I practically never run out of heavy ammo because of it. Burst fire linear, you pull 5 bursts off the wall, and it's a 3 burst shot. 1 headshot of the burst can kill. 1 bullet of the burst can kill. So that's a lot of potential kills there. I recommend pre-firing though, because it does drop the brick on the floor, which can be kind of lame. Eager Edge Sword. I don't like third personing, but it's really strong. Controller weapons. Drang, Allied Demand, Heliocentric, Anonymous Autumn, Peace Spawn, Breachlight, Division. Rapid fire pulses are also really good on controller. Delete your fusion rifles. And heavy burst hand cannons feel a lot better on controller. I wrote this guide a very long time ago, and I just kept chipping away at it over the past months. I had a section for PvP armor, but the takeaway here is if you want better armor right now, just farm Grasp of Avarice, Final Encounter, Master, and that's available this week. Exotic exceptions. So whenever you're making a build in PvP, typically you always go for max recovery, max intellect. However, there's a couple exotic armor pieces that get to break away from that common formula. So if you don't want mobility, Radiant Dance Machines add plus 30 mobility, so you can run 70 instead of 100. For T-steps on Warlock, you can crouch and have very fast strafe speed. For Aeons, you don't actually need your respective class ability cooldown. You can just have your teammates get eliminated. Dragon Shadow used to be a mobility exception, but I did the math and now it actually does want 10 mobility. For exotics that don't need recovery, we have Graviton Forfeit. You could be at 0 recovery, but if you dodge with Graviton Forfeit, 0 turns into 9.5. Mechaneer's Trick Sleeve. This is a risk reward where if you have low recovery, your perk is active for longer since you have to be critically wounded for Mechaneers to trigger. For Hoarfrost and Feedback, these are essentially the same Behemoth Titan rhyme farming setup where you use the crystal shards collected to siphon into stats on your armor mods. So you don't actually need any of the stats if you build it right. What do you want high resilience for? The answer is Omnioculus, Surturachnid, Renewal Grass, Baladors, or Icefall. There's certain combinations in this game, like let's say someone's using Sanguine Exotic Chest Piece with Ariana's Vow hand cannon, and they try to one-tap you. But if you have Omnioculus on, you just live it. There have been other metas in the past where there's similar damage combos, and you need a very specific resilience amount on all of these exotics to survive bullshit in PvP. And it's worth knowing. And if you save these loadouts in Dim, you'll save the corresponding armor pieces that make those builds possible. Maybe it matters in the future with the weapon stat. Who knows? I just will make a second vault deleting video after Edge of Fate has been here and we settle into it. So I'm err on the side of caution. I'm going to keep my exotic exception legendary armor. So again, this goes back to the 2-minute fast video. The advice is to make all of your competitive and fun builds, punch them into Dim, and then we're going to use those commands. Is in loadout, is armor. Use the 3 dots. Tag as keep. Then we want to do the opposite. Select everything not in the loadout that is legendary armor. We would select it as junk. And then the final thing we do is we take the giant copy paste that gives us all the double spikes for Edge of Fate. And then we want to select keep. Then the remaining armor that is tagged junk is what you can safely delete. I'll probably be doing that on stream tomorrow. I'm feeling pretty tired after doing this one. So I'm going to sleep pretty good. Been hitting the gym. So let me know what you thought about this format. I spent a little longer on this today than I should have, but I think it turned out pretty good. I like the short and the long back to back instead of just assuming everybody wants to watch the long because they were scrolling through their YouTube feed and couldn't find anything good to watch. And they're like, this, whatever, my vault needs to be clean. I might as well just learn about this now. Like the need to watch something entertaining while eating, I got you. I understand you on a spiritual level. See y'all in the next. Thanks. Oh, wait. Almost just fell asleep at the wheel here. I put armor 4.0 grind. I don't know what number we're at this point. In Edge of Fate, this is how the stat spikes are going to work. If the armor is a Paragon armor, you're going to have super as your primary stat, and then melee as your secondary stat. So these are all the ones we're getting. However, there are also some illegal combinations that didn't get correctly transferred. Impossible combos. Mossy Max noted these, and these are the 21 plus spike. It's not going to matter as much on legendary armor as y'all probably think it is, because we're going to have armor set bonuses with the new Edge of Fate armor, plus like a 15% damage resistance or something crazy on it. So in all likelihood, even the contest raiders are probably going to eventually conform to using the new stuff when the new stuff gives enough of an advantage. And how do we know when that's going to happen? Bungie will probably power creep it 2 expansions from now, so it's not the end of the world if you don't farm for illegal combos. However, exotic pieces are here to stay. So, me personally, I wrote down a list of every illegal combination that I would value for exotic armor. And if I have spare materials, spare glimmer, spare ascendant shards, and I check my dim, which is why I didn't tell you to delete your spare Eye of Another Worlds right now. Like, look, that's a 70 stat roll, right? Surely that's good in Edge of Fate. I wrote down the specific exotics for the impossible combos that I want, and I'm slowly chipping away at this. There's a couple that I'm prioritizing. You decide that on your own. You don't go for this whole list. It is a complete waste of time to spend that much extra time, because you will find a build that's good enough in the future by using legendary pieces and armor sets to fill the gap. However, think about your most competitive, most fun loadouts and prioritize those. Now I get to go to sleep. Thank you, friends, for the sub.